Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the AMX-30. This is the premium variant with the 50 cal in the coax, not the 20mm one that's in the regular tree. And that ends the differences between these vehicles really. This one is a tiny bit worse in that the coax gun it has can't really knock down certain walls or kill lightly armoured tanks and SPA. But apart from that, they're exactly the same tank and play exactly the same. So this thing plays a bit more, well, hasten to say it plays a lot like a Leopard. I mean, I don't really think it does. I think it's a little bit different than that, but that's the closest thing I can liken it to. So if you're good at that tank and you know how to play it, you'll probably do really well in this tank as well. The armour on the front plate is pretty decent. It can bounce a lot of APHE shells, but lots of people know that, so you're most likely going to be getting shot in the cupola and the turret. And the cupola is a very bad detriment to this tank. I've been killed so many times with APHE when I thought I was safe because I'm so used to playing these sorts of tanks that don't really have cupola like that. So it's quite annoying to adjust to. But apart from that, it's a good tank. The downside to me, personally, I think I don't like the most, is that it doesn't have really any versatility in its rounds. It only gets one proper usable round against tanks, which is the 400mm heat round, which is not heat FS. So if you're on a map with lots of fences and bushes, the generous hitbox of those things is going to absorb the heat, whereas on some other tanks like the Magak, you could use the Sabo to just cut right through and do similar amounts of damage. So I've got 2 games today. Hopefully they do a decent job of explaining how this tank works. But before that, I will show you the lineup that I've been using for 7.3 France. Right, so for the lineup for 7.3, of course, AMX. Now, I use the AMX-30 90 because I think having a light tank is a pretty decent option just because, you know, spawn point costs. The gun is always going to be decent for what it is. And you know it's pretty small, and you can do things with it that you can't with the other AMX that you could put here instead of the 1390. So it's just up to you. If you really like the play style of the AMX-30, go for that as well. If you don't like the 1390, it's just a preference for me, and it's what I prefer to use. And as well, definitely go with the Foch. I absolutely love it. It's disgustingly good against APHE. But not kind of that strong against heat rounds, but even so, like, it's got to have a downside. You've got great armor, great gun, great speed, and a really good gun at the top there. You can take down a lot of light tanks with that. I've had a lot of fun slaughtering scorpions with them. So for your SPA, no other real option but to go with the AMX-30 DCA. You've got the radar, and it makes it for a comparatively one of the best SPAs because you're not really going to be fighting many jets. It's mainly going to be props, so, and because you have the radar at such a low battle rating, you're going to have a pretty good time knocking those out. Now for your plane, if you have it, I would always still go with the Yak 9T, as you can set practically any tank that you're going to see on fire, and it's just a fantastic option all around. You've got loads of ammunition, you can fight planes as well. But if you don't have the Yak, definitely go with the AD4 or the Bearcat. They both get some bomb drops, rockets, anything that can fit your playstyle really. They're both really good options, so I'd go with that if you don't have the Yak 9T. Right, on to the games. The first match is on Ardennes, and I believe it's a 7-3, 7-7 game. I can't actually remember. So what I'm doing this time is I'm rushing straight through the cap point. I'm not going to cap it, and I'm going to try and take initiative somewhere between B and C. Just to the right of C is where I usually go, as you can catch a few people flanking, and by the time you can make sure that nobody is flanking, there's enough people on their side of the map trying to push to C that you can get around all of them and have a pretty fun time. And spoiler alert, it works quite well in this match, so by ignoring the cap, I'm going to be able to get there quicker than practically anything. There might be a couple of tanks that can beat me to where I'm going to get to, but it's not going to be too likely. And the benefit of being here as well is that I can see any tank that's going to push to the village in the south, so I can make sure for certain there's going to be nothing flanking me. So, and see an M47 has come there. Don't really get too much of a good hit on with the heat, only get the gunner and loader. But I try, and I'm very poorly miss him here. This is the first game of my day, and I was like, oh, leave it, don't worry about it. But he just drives right through, and I can hit him in the ammo, so a bit lucky there. I mean, I should have shot him a bit earlier. That was a mistake on my part. So now, this is what I usually do. I usually come up here and sit behind this house and just wait for people to drive around in front of me. As usually there's a few of them, usually on the German teams though. So I just wait here, cover my hull a little bit to make sure that I can reverse quickly if I need to, and just checking around behind me just in case anything's popping up there. Sometimes some things do. So the reason why, even though nothing's coming, that I'm not pushing up is because if I push up too soon, I'm going to meet the tanks that are pushing to sea too quickly. And if I wait a little bit, they're not going to be expecting me, and I can just sort of meet them in the side when they're not really paying attention. So that's the only reason why I'm waiting here. I know it's not really super interesting to look at, but I do make a move now and just look to the left in between the buildings to see if I can see anything through there. And I do see a T-92. Now, he saw me there, but he's pretending he doesn't see me, and that's a really good move because I didn't really think he'd bother doing that. So I look away because I'm not expecting him to look at me, and he does. He goes right back, shoots me in the engine, but luckily because the T-92 has hull brake, I can shoot him anywhere and he's going to die. So again, a mistake on my part, but you know, it's 80% luck, 20% skill, all of that. So just sit here repairing my engine. I know there's a Centurion there. Go for the disabling shot in the turret to make sure I can get some of the crew in the breach, and he's going to back off, and he's not really going to be bothering anyone else on sea. I know there's a few more there though, so I'm just kind of looking from side to side, seeing if anything's going to rush at me. That's not a good spot to be sitting in to repair your engine. So I'm just going to check all my corners, rush down these back roads, and see if I can catch anyone else. So I know there's probably going to be a few tanks behind me, but they're all likely going to be to my left. And I want to try and pinch the Centurion. But as there's nothing towards their side of the map, I have free reign to just sort of go over where I want. See a T-29, try and go for the ammo rack, but it does just black out the ammo, as this heat round is not very good. Please don't go for the ammo rack if it's, you know, you've got other options. Knock out the Centurion, oh, Carnarvon, excuse me, that was reversing back there. One of the only times I've managed to actually one-shot one of those through the turret. Get the barrel just in case he swings around and sees me. Centurion Mark 10 gets taken out. From here I can just sort of chip away at him. I go for the turret crew, get the turret drive and the gunner, so all he's really got is the commander and a few others. So it's just a very tedious romp of picking away his crew with this heat round, which, you know, really makes you appreciate APHE a little bit more, as that took me quite a few shots when it would have taken me one with a round like that, but, you know, can't have everything. So I don't want to push directly up the road through B, as that's where most of the enemy team are probably still going to be. So what I really want to do is push up around to the northeast and just cover the road from their spawn, just to stop anything really coming back from there, because we've pretty much won the match at this point. So popping up, and I see something up there. I can see the 50 cal and a lot of bushes, so I'm not actually sure what it is, but it's a T-95, which is something that I wasn't really expecting, so you know, I don't need to worry about him getting the jump on me. Just roll over, try and go for the ammo rack and get it. Just very satisfying to ammo rack one of those. And just continue pushing upwards towards these buildings that I can use for cover in case anyone pushes directly south from their spawn, just so I can cover the road and make sure nothing else is going to come up from there. So do think about heading directly over to the B point, as I know there's a couple of tanks around there, but I don't really want to be greedy at this point. I can just sit behind these buildings and pinch the tanks that no one's really going to be looking for, because there are a lot of tanks by B and they're going to be taking out those tanks that are pushing directly down the road, so you know, there's not much point. See a Centurion Mark 10 coming up there, and I shoot through the window to get the ammo rack, which is a very, very, I wouldn't want to be him, basically. So that's basically the end of the match. I just sort of mill around here for a few minutes, and just as the match is about to end, T-34 spawns up, and I just sort of roll over to pinch that one as well, as he is giving a little bit of business to some of the tanks around the spawn. Now I don't really like spawn killing, but I mean it's the end of the match and there's nowhere else for me to really go, so I believe it's completely excusable. Just get the gunner again. It's a bit of a bad shot for, you know, placing the heat round, but still he's pretty much disabled. Just need to wait for the smoke to clear and I can take him out. Just go underneath the turret, get the loader. God, this round isn't the best. Far from the worst though. And another one just underneath the turret and do take him out, and that's the end of this game. And it's a decent reward for 7 kills, 10k research. I mean, I'm researching a tier 6, you know, it's not bad. You know, I'd say this is a decent premium for grinding. So, on to match number 2. This match is 7-7 on Hurtgen Forest, and I've cut it a little bit into the match because nothing's really happened. I got a shot from their spawn and that was about it. So, just pushing up through the town with the rest of the tanks, see a T-26, and The generous hitbox on the wall stops my heat round, which became immeasurably frustrating on this match. I've got a few clips of that later. As he rolls back, get the driver and gunner, which is great, so I can just sort of aim underneath the turret and hopefully knock him out, but sadly get a very annoying bounce. Not a great start here. Just back up, as I don't think I can beat the reload, but he gets taken out anyway, so another tank down, I can get the assist. So what I want to do is cut a little bit more south, as there's a lot of tanks this side and not very many on the south, so I can kind of fill that gap. And because this thing's decently quick, I can get there, make sure I'm not going to get shot by something I'm not looking at. Checking the main road, nothing really seems to be there, so I can just push directly south and hopefully hassle some of the tanks that capped A and are trying to come around the southmost side of the town. And all this is going to really be is picking off tanks that aren't looking. So use my 50 cal there to knock down the wall, as it would have eaten up the round again. He generously gives me a shot of his lower plate, so I can just take out one of the last two crew members and knock out the T-32. Now I know there's another heavy tank around there as well, so I'm just going to kind of have a look around, see if I can see him. I know he's behind one of those buildings, so it's just going to be pushing up there and trying to knock him out. But there also are quite a lot of tanks around me, so I need to be careful I'm not just tunnel visioning and going right for him, as I'm probably going to die. So just being careful, looking around, and see a Pershing around the corner there. He doesn't see me. Just push out there, wait for him to give me a nicer shot. Sadly don't get the driver, but do get 2 or 3 of the crews, only 2 crew members left. But he gets away, sadly. So I do push out to try and get him, but silly mistake on my part, and silly pattern, but you know, get the Amarak, all good. I should have really looked before crossing the road there, as that Pershing probably isn't going to be in a fit state to take me out on the way he is. So, you know, always counts to be careful. So, just playing it cautious here. Like, the way I play this tank on these maps is, you know, don't go really for the wide flank, because eventually you're going to get taken out, as your rounds aren't really the most reliable for one-shotting things. You're likely going to get spotted. So all you really need to do is zip in between cover and stay generally around the combat area, because you have great turret rotation speed, great reverse, great acceleration. All you're going to really be doing is controlling an area. It's a bit like the Challenger, but more maneuverable. That's the Challenger A30. So I'm thinking the Pershing probably doesn't know where I am now, and he's gotten a little bit bored. I see a little twinge of movement over there by the building, and there he is. Just poke out in between and wait for the gun to spring back up, get the last remaining crew members. I do get shot in between the buildings nearby A. So I'm just driving out a little bit here, maybe a bit too far, but I'm just trying to see what shot me, so I can counter it when I get my gunner back. And I see it's a Centurion, but there's something else there as well. So he backs off, and that's a T-25 there. And because there's 2 tanks there, and I'm now turned around, I think it's probably best to go on the defensive. So pop my smoke there, which drive into a house, which is not really the smartest thing to do, but that limits the direction in which they can flank me around, and I can point my turret directly at the other side, so if they're coming from one direction, I can fight them. They can't hit me from the other side. So I'm going to wait here for for the smoke to clear, but look over to the hill and see a M48 or Magak, and just before I shoot him, I get bombed by a plane, which is fantastic, but I do have a backup, so we can go right back into it. As I spawn up, I catch a glimpse of him again use the very, very quick rangefinder there to get the exact range down and get the Amarak, which is great. I always seem to hit the Amaraks when I'm not aiming to, and when I am aiming to, I never get the kill. So if that means anything, just don't go for the Amaraks. If you have the options, go for the crew. It never ends up well. So getting back to the town here, it's just again going to be going right back into the same playstyle, controlling the area around the cap to make sure that nothing can really get too much of an advantage over any of our tanks. So I don't really know where anything is at this point, so it's just going to be being slightly cautious and looking around to see if I can see anything. So I know there's a medium tank around the A point, an SPA. I see the M60 there, knock the wall out of the way just in case again. Luckily get the gunner, driver and engine, so there's no way he can fight back. Shoot underneath the cupola and get the last crew member, and that's another kill. Reverse back here, see the Bulldog, so instead of driving out and trying to chase him, wait for him to drive over there. Again, knock down the wall with the MGs, but just get the fuel tank and the loader, and he does get taken out very quickly. And I do get bombed by the plane very shortly afterwards again, and that's practically the end of the match. So, not the most impressive match. I probably could have got a few more kills there if it wasn't for that plane, but still not bad. As you can see, I did still get a decent reward. So unlike the Magak, this one is actually, I'd say it's better for grinding. It's more reliable. It's an option that I'd pick rather, over the Magak. Like, I think, whereas the one in the tech tree is objectively better than this one still isn't worse off. They're basically the same tank. It's just one has gimmicky advantages. It's not like the entire playstyle has changed, or you'll be in a situation where you die in the premium one, but you'd stay alive in the one in the normal tree because of a certain advantage. That's not really the case here. The 50 cal you have can still knock down those little walls. The only difference is that maybe you're going to run into a Type 60 or something that you could easily kill with 20, not so much the 50. But anyway, this tank it's good. It's not great though. I think it's good. It's the mobility I really like. The turret rotation speed I really like. The gun is okay. Now I think a lot of people really despise it. They really don't like the heat round. But from what I know, it has the exact same post-pen effects that Heat FS does, but not necessarily the same as other 105 Heat FS. It has the same kind of general effect, if you get what I mean. So that in itself isn't a bad thing. It's not the most powerful heat round fired from the 105, but it's not bad. The downside, I think, from this gun is that it only fires one ammunition type. And like I said before in some of the clips, other tanks, like the Leopard and the Magak, if you're in a situation where there's lots of fences around, lots of walls, and lots of bushes and stuff, and you don't want to give yourself away by spraying them down, you only have heat. So if there's a tank on the other side of a bush, you could have shot him with Sabo and you'd have a chance of taking them out. But if you just have heat, you're going to likely lose that engagement, or rather have a trickier time than you could have had if you had more rounds. And I think that's inherently the worst thing about the gun. It's not the round itself, but the round itself, what I think it's good at is I had a lot of fun playing this in a squad. So after I got the footage to get like the B-roll that I used for the clips at the beginning, I played around with some friends and we had a good time. And what I found this tank's great for is if you're playing around other people, your tank is good. You've got the versatility to get around other tanks and disable them. The heat round loves to knock out breaches and turret drives and stuff like that. So if you don't mind not getting kills, if you're working as a squad to like go for a victory, this tank is great because you can easily knock out the tank's ability to fight back, but you're not necessarily going to be able to knock the tank out easily. So it's really good for that. So if I were you, if you ever see a tank, say if it's just you and one other tank. If you go for the breach, you're going to knock the breach out, and sure, it's going to drive away and probably hold up somewhere to repair. But you're going to be able to use the great mobility of this vehicle to catch it and take it out. Whereas you couldn't in, another tank, maybe like the Magak or the M60 or something similar like that, because it's just not fast enough. But that's what I think you should always go for. Always go for the shot with this gun that's going to disable it. Because if you shoot a tank like in the side, say you're against like a Tiger 2, you shoot it in the side, your heat round might go right through the legs of the turret crew. You might kill the commander, but you might, it might swing its turret around and take you out. So I'd always go for the breach. If you're behind it, or if you think you can beat the reload, go for the engine, disable it from driving away so you can confirm the kill. But always with this round, because it's not the most reliable, it doesn't have the most damage, go for disabling it. Breach, anything like that, it's what I'd 100% recommend. So it's a good support tank. It's a good support tank in that aspect, and it's good for getting to positions early, and that's what I think you should do. Flanking with it isn't immeasurably viable, I'd say, just because if you go right around the flank, you might see loads of tanks, like 3 tanks around. You could use your rangefinder to knock them out. But because your round doesn't do too much damage, you're not really going to be able to take out 2 or 3 tanks in the same place before one of them notices you. If you were in the Object 906, for example, you could probably take all 3 of them out in less than 20 seconds because you've got APHE. Can't with this tank. So it's good. I like it. It's a little bit worse than the Leopard, I'd say, in just terms of versatility. I think it's really suited to where it is in the BR right now, and I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. Really hope you enjoyed this one. Sorry it's been a little bit rushed. I'm on a bit of a time limit today as there's lots of building work being done, and I need to record this in the hour-and-a-half break that they have for lunch. So any second now we could start hearing lots of banging, shouting and drilling, so sorry if this does seem rushed. I understand that it's probably not the most watchable thing ever, but I really hope you enjoyed anyway. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. The next review should be coming hopefully pretty soon, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you next time. Have a good weekend, and goodbye.